To the world, Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player alive. To his opponents, he was a nightmare. And to many of his own teammates, he was their worst enemy. Jordan didn't just want to beat you, he wanted to crush you, embarrass you, and make sure you never forgot who the alpha was. From brutal trash talk and fistfights in practice, to legendary mind games that broke players before the game even started, this is the story of why Michael Jordan wasn't just respected, he was feared. Long before the game even started, Michael Jordan had already won. Opponents didn't just see him as another player, they saw him as a storm coming their way. Larry Bird once said, after Jordan dropped 63 points on the Celtics, that wasn't Michael Jordan out there. That was God disguised as Michael Jordan. Isaiah Thomas admitted that Jordan's presence alone changed how teams prepared. Charles Barkley joked that going up against him felt less like basketball and more like survival. Even young stars like Allen Iverson and Shaquille O'Neal recalled being starstruck, then quickly realizing this man was different. Jordan's reputation was so terrifying that some players confessed they lost confidence before the opening tip. His aura was a weapon all on its own. Before he even touched the ball, he had already broken you mentally. What made Jordan different wasn't just talent, it was how far he'd go to motivate himself. He didn't need a real enemy, he could invent one. In the 1992 finals, people dared to compare Clyde Drexler to Jordan. That was all it took. Jordan went out and buried Portland with 6 3-pointers in the first half alone, setting a finals record in staring Drexler down with every shot. And then there's the infamous Lou Bradford Smith story. After Smith scored 37 points against the Bulls, Jordan claimed Smith had patted him on the back and said, "Good game, Mike." The next night, Jordan torched him for 36 points by halftime. Years later, Jordan admitted he made the story up. He didn't need reality, he just needed fuel. That was Jordan's edge. If you didn't give him a reason to destroy you, he'd create one. And once he had it, there was nothing you could do to stop him. If Jordan's skills didn't break you, his mouth would. He was the undisputed king of trash talk, and he knew exactly how to get inside an opponent's head. Take Muggsy Bogues in the 1995 playoffs. With the game on the line, Jordan backed off and shouted, "Shoot it, midget." Bogues missed, and later admitted he never recovered. From that moment, his confidence was shattered forever. Or look at Dikembe Mutombo. For years he bragged that Jordan had never dunked on him. In 1997, Jordan finally did it, then hit Mutombo with his own signature finger wag as he jogged back down the court. Pure humiliation. And then there's the classic story of a heckler who taunted Jordan after he dunked on John Stockton, saying, "Why don't you pick on someone your own size?" The very next play, Jordan threw down a vicious dunk over 7'1" Mel Turpin, and coolly told the fan, was he big enough? Jordan didn't just play basketball, he played your mind. And once he broke you mentally, the game was already over. For Jordan, competition didn't stop when the game ended. He had to win at everything, no matter how small or ridiculous it seemed. When rookie Christian Leitner beat him at ping pong, Jordan didn't laugh it off. He bought his own table, practiced non-stop, and came back just to crush him in front of the team. Same with Jumbotron games in the arena while teammates guessed scores for fun. Jordan secretly watched the test runs before fans arrived, then bet Pippen and others money he'd get it right. Of course, he always did. And when it came to golf, cards, or even racing teammates in the hallway, Jordan turned everything into a competition. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to prove you never stood a chance against him in anything. That obsession bled into every corner of his life. With Jordan, there were no casual games. Everything was war, and losing was never an option. If you thought Jordan only tormented opponents, think again. His own teammates often felt the full force of his intensity, and it wasn't pretty. In practice, Jordan's competitiveness boiled over into fights. He punched Will Perdue. He punched Steve Kerr so hard it left a black eye. Later, Kerr admitted that standing up to Jordan actually earned his respect, but at the time, it was brutal. Bill Cartwright remembered being humiliated when Jordan fired impossible no-look passes at him, then mocked him when he couldn't catch them. Scott Burrell, a young guard during Jordan's last Bulls run, was singled out daily. Jordan trash-talked him non-stop, calling him soft, lazy, and mentally weak. Burrell later said Jordan was trying to toughen him up, but at the time, it felt like psychological warfare. And then there was Kwame Brown, drafted first overall by the Wizards when Jordan was running the team. Instead of mentoring the teenager, Jordan crushed his confidence, mocking him in front of the locker room, berating him in practice, and leaving him in tears. Kwame's career never recovered. To Jordan, it wasn't personal. He believed pressure created diamonds. But for many teammates, being around him felt less like leadership and more like survival. Jordan wasn't just competitive, he believed losing was impossible. That mentality turned ordinary games into unforgettable moments. In 1990 against Cleveland, he dropped 69 points, grabbing 18 rebounds and 6 assists for good measure. At one point, he told defenders exactly how he was going to score on them and then did it over and over again. He built his legend on the clutch. 28 career game winners, 9 at the buzzer, the most in NBA history. When the game was on the line, everyone in the arena knew who was taking the shot. The other team knew too, but they still couldn't stop him. And nothing showed his refusal to lose more than the 1998 finals. Game 6 against the Jazz. Jordan strips Karl Malone, brings the ball up the floor, and with the season in the balance, hits the iconic jumper over Brian Russell. It wasn't just a shot, it was the perfect ending to the perfect mentality. For Jordan, losing didn't exist. Either he won or time simply ran out. Even after retirement, Jordan's fire never went out. Age, injuries, even the image of him as a global icon, none of it dimmed his obsession with winning. At his own basketball camp, he embarrassed a teenage O.J. Mayo, who had been talking trash. Jordan shut him down, then dominated him one-on-one, reminding the young star exactly who he was dealing with. Even in his 40s, long after most legends fade quietly, Jordan was still torching pros in private runs. Teammates told stories of him dropping 30 and 40 in scrimmages, still demanding the ball, still proving he was better. And during his Wizards comeback, he stunned the league with multiple 50-point games, often after nights of golf, cigars, and little sleep. To anyone else, that would have been impossible. To Jordan, it was just another chance to prove the fire never left. Winning wasn't just something he did, it was something he couldn't turn off. What set Michael Jordan apart wasn't only his skill or his rings, it was his aura. He carried an energy that made everyone around him feel smaller, even before the game began. Teammates remembered him walking into arenas in a sharp suit, cigar in hand, and you could just feel the intimidation. Opponents admitted they were beaten before tip-off. Because once you locked eyes with him, you knew you weren't facing a man, you were facing a legend. Jordan would toy with rivals, counting his points backward while scoring, just to let them know exactly how much time they had left before their humiliation was complete. He called himself Black Jesus, and even Reggie Miller admitted, after facing him, "I never doubted it." And then there were the quotes, lines that summed up his entire mentality. "I never lost a game, I just ran out of time." Or the 2 words that shook the world when he returned from retirement, "I'm back." Jordan wasn't just the best player on the court, he was a cultural force. The style, the swagger, the dominance, he made basketball cool, and he made greatness look inevitable. When people talk about Michael Jordan, they talk about the championships, the highlights, the sneakers, the fame. But what truly defined him wasn't just greatness, it was the fear he inspired. To his rivals, he was a nightmare who lived in their heads long after the game ended. To his teammates, he was a relentless force that pushed them to the breaking point. And to the world, he became the ultimate symbol of competitive fire. Jordan wasn't perfect, he was ruthless, brutal, and sometimes even cruel. But that's exactly why he stood above everyone else. He didn't just want to win, he needed to dominate, to break you mentally and physically, until there was no doubt left about who was the best. That's why decades later, no matter how many stars rise, his name still carries a weight, unlike anyone else's. Because greatness fades, legends are remembered. But fear never dies. And Michael Jordan made sure the NBA would fear him forever.